You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. Number 594.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Outdoors Station. It's great to have you with me once again for another mini-series, and this time it was recorded earlier this year, back in May 2025, during our hike along the famous Wainwright Coast to Coast Trail. For those unfamiliar, it's about 188 miles from St Bees on the west coast of the beautiful Cumbrian Lake District, all the way to Robin's Hood Bay on the east coast, right at the edge of the North Yorkshire Moors. The route loosely follows the paths described by Alfred Wainwright in his classic guidebooks, and every year over 6,000 people take on the challenge through sunshine, rain and everything in between. The trail is set to gain official National Trail status in 2026, and during our walk we saw plenty of signs of that, quite literally, with new markers and signposts being installed along the way. Now, I know it's been a little while since my last episode back in June. As John Lennon famously said, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. I couldn't tell you exactly what filled the time since then, but I'm delighted to be back behind the mic with you all. And there's more good news. I've got a few other series already lined up and ready to go following this one. For anyone new to the show, it's been about 5 years since we last did a long self-contained hike. We'd usually describe ourselves as lightweight backpackers, not ultralight mind you, but lightweight, as we do like certain creature comforts, and we're willing to pay a little bit of price in terms of weight to enjoy that. That said, as you'll hear throughout this series, we definitely had lost some of the pack discipline we'd learned 5 years prior and found ourselves carrying a bit more than we needed, thanks to those familiar just-in-case worries. Over the course of this journey, you'll hear plenty of highs and lows, stories from the trail and reflections on the places we passed through, along with some surprises about what was and wasn't available on the route. We'll also be sharing conversations with a few of the interesting people and fellow walkers we met along the way. So, with all that said, let's jump right in and picture the scene. We've just stepped off the train on a bright, sunny, cool morning at the tiny station in the village of St Bees. There's one pub, a little spa-type shop, and a couple of slightly weary hotels, all just a short walk from the sea. And that is where our adventure begins. Good morning everyone, and I'm standing currently on the beach at St Bees, which is over on the west coast of the UK, and the official start of the Wainwright Coast to Coast, which finishes over on the east coast at Robin's Hood Bay. It is mid-May as I record this, and we've been in a spell of some wonderful weather in the UK, and we're looking today at blue skies, fair amount of sun I think from all accounts, possibly the occasional shower, but basically 19 degrees with an overnight temperature of around estimated 7 or 8 degrees. So Rose and I are staring out at the very calm Irish Sea, which looks very inviting, although probably a bit chilly this morning for a dip, don't you think?
Oh, might be, but I think by the time we've done that climb, we'd love to get in it.
Yes, indeed. So the literally the first few hundred metres from St Bees, as you would expect with a cliff path, involves a rather steep climb, and you suddenly realise that perhaps you haven't carried a rucksack that's got all your camping equipment in it for a while, and your body is starting to say, hello, remember me, and all these different muscles are starting to complain. So we will see how we get on. Without going into too lengthy an introduction, we have set ourselves 12 days to do this, primarily because we booked the return bus trips from Robinson Bay, and then realised that the 14 days we'd set involved 2 days of travelling, which was a bit of a rookie error on my part, but there you go. So we are stuck to 12 days to do this, 190 miles, and the forecast looks pretty good for the first 4 or 5 days. Then unfortunately there's a bank holiday weekend right slap bang in the middle of it, and various activities are taking place, and as most people will know, the Lake District and Yorkshire Dales are very, very popular during bank holidays, so we are anticipating probably struggling a bit to find sort of camping spots. From the way that we're approaching it, we are carrying our own camping equipment with the idea, or with the view, to possibly wild camp as circumstances dictate, but camping primarily in hopefully various campsites or pubs or whatever it may be that have camping facilities. So we are carrying camping equipment. From a budget point of view, we are on a fairly tight budget, so we're going to try and live off the land as best we can. In other words, we're not taking lots of food. We have enough food for sort of four days, as it were, should we decide that we have to wild camp and we can be independent. But the living off the land will involve hopefully stopping and resting at various cafes en route.
Lots of tea rooms.
Tea rooms. We have a friend called Steph who lives by coffee houses and tea rooms, so we shall make sure we send a picture to her. So that's our basic introduction. As usual, I hope to talk to other hikers who are doing the route, and I've already come across half a dozen this morning just walking down to the beach. And actually that's a tip for people. Once you get off the train at St Bees, it is a kilometre to the actual start to the beach, which all the videos that I've seen have not made clear. The other thing is, the reason I'm doing this podcast is I can't find a podcast from anybody that has walked the Wainwright Trail. So although people talk about it, there's nobody that's actually done an audio diary.
I was going to say it's the audio diary. There's lots of podcasts and YouTube videos. But
there's YouTube videos,
yeah.
but no podcasts. So on that happy note, I'm going to leave the beach, follow a hiker that I've already met, taking the picture, called Kat, who's ahead of us, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to her later on, and we're going to hit this first climb and enjoy the sunshine and the weight of these rucksacks. So we'll be back exhausted fairly soon. We just made the climb, or as you can tell from my breath, we're almost at the top of the climb, from St Bees Head, which is a little alcove hidden beach, which a lot of videos enjoy showing people on this route. Weather is perfect, absolutely perfect, and between us we were working it out. It's been a good 5-6 years since we humped with a rucksack carrying everything. I think we did the Sky Trail, I did the TGO, and then I met up with Lee and Tony to do a week in the Cairngorms. And what with one thing and another, time has gone by. Could you pull the gate, Rose? There we go. But inevitably, we've been comparing this to the TGO as regards a walk where you bump into people. And this morning, what time is it? 10:15. What time did we start? 8:30?
No, it was about 8:45, I think, by the time we left the beach.
8:45, okay. And we've seen 4 couples and a couple of singles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Piccadilly Circus, everyone getting started.
But of course, unlike the TGO or other walks where you start at one place, everybody bomb-bursts and goes in different directions, it is already feeling like a bit of a highway. But of course that's in relation to our experience. But everybody's enjoying themselves. I mean, there's no negativity. It's just as I look ahead, I can see 2 elderly guys are obviously being it by the looks of the size of their packs. And there's been a few other people like that as well, and one young couple who've been enthusiastic and they're thrusting ahead. I think they're from Canada or America, but we might catch up with them later on, you never know. But it doesn't take very long for the creak of the rucksack to sound familiar, the swish of the trousers, particularly following Rose as she walks, and where she's stepping, the clack of the walking poles, and a feeling of a slight breeze on our face and distant seagulls all adds to a lovely atmosphere. But I think it's going to take us a couple of days to get used to the weight and the bulk, but it's the best way that we can do it, and best way we can do it, and keep budget fairly realistic as we go. Coincidentally, I read this morning on Facebook, 80-year-old guys just finished the coast to coast, and he mentioned that the comparison to doing a Camino, which he did last year, was horrendous. On the Camino he managed to budget €40 a day, and the coast to coast was considerably more. And his sort of passing comment was, it was a shame a lot of the farmers don't convert many of the empty barns that he passed into camping huts or shelters or pods or whatever, which I think gives you an indication of the infrastructure I think we're going to pass. And finally, again, trying to keep tabs on things. Last night we stayed at the Queen's Hotel in St Bees, £79. The room was clean, but the hotel itself was very, very tired. All sorts of things broken and tatty and so on. But they were very welcoming. Had a pizza. It was pizza night on Monday night, so we had a double pizza and chips, of course. And then we managed to save half a pizza each, which they put in tin foil for us, which is going to be our lunch today. Keeping the costs down. And I'm just walking through a herd of cattle, all of which are quite happily minding their own business, and strangely sitting down. Usually that's an indication of rain, isn't it, Rose?
It said possible showers later, but clear skies at the moment.
Yeah, usually when cattle all sit down, it's usually rain's coming. In our experience. Anyway, on that note, I can see I think it's a lighthouse ahead of me now. So we'll carry on along the coastal path, and then as we cut inland, we need to consider some sort of sun protection on our necks, because I think we're going to have the sun on our neck for quite a few hours. And with our pale skin, we need to look after it. Well, we finally reached the end of the coastal section, and it pretty well reminded me anyway. It's been a while since I've been walking across undulating ground, carrying a heavy pack, trying to get used to things again. It's a very pleasant day, in other words, it's sunny and warm, but naturally that also brings out a certain level of perspiration. But I shall ask my walking companion how she's feeling.
Yeah, we've both stopped at various points to change and put shorts on. We did think we might need to, so we had put them to the top of the pack, which helps. It's Don's suntan cream as well, which is unexpected in some ways.
And it's been a few years since we did a fully loaded hike. How do you feel about getting back into the flow?
Yeah, it's just settling in with the pack, and surprisingly a lot of it is muscle memory. It just come back, and we had done some practice shakedowns and runs. We're fortunate living by the Malvern Hills, at least we've got to practice the ascent and descent easily.
Yeah, it's just the occasional muscles that go, hello, hello, you haven't used me for a while. But it was lovely. The skylarks to our one side and the coast crashing on the pebbles shore beneath us on our left. It was a lovely way to start the day.
There were some beautiful bits in that little stream that went down to the cove, and was just littered with, all the wildflowers and the end of the bluebells and Greater Stitchworth and Thrift, and it's beautiful. Lots of hogweed, and then the occasional tyre and plastic bottle.
Well, we are on the coast. You don't know where it's come in from the coast, or somebody's carried it there. I can't imagine they carried it there, so that's the way it goes. So we're heading now on this small narrow country lane to Sandwich, and we may stop for a sandwich if we get there. Well, it's 11 o'clock now.
Bit early for lunch.
It is, but we've got actually a lot of miles to do, and I know there's one very long climb just over halfway into the day, so I have a feeling we're not going to be finished till quite late today. But we're both, I get the feeling, starting to get back into our pace.
Yeah, we've when we stopped to don shorts, we've had people overtake us, but seem to catch them up again, so we get back into our walking rhythm. I think what's going to be telling is doing it day after day, because we haven't done that for a bit.
Yeah, and the familiar strangers, we've already had small conversations with them, so hopefully if we all arrive at the finish point today together, or in some sort of staggered form, we'll hopefully have perhaps time for a conversation.
Walking with us on and off that first day, enjoying the sunshine and the cool breeze, was Ingrid from Holland, carrying a small day pack. She was moving with purpose and confidence, so it was obvious that it wasn't her first time walking a UK national trail.
I've done several walks in England, and being of a certain age I want to have another challenge, and I thought the coast to coast was one of the better ones, so that's why I chose coast to coast. And because it's well trodden and walking solo, I feel quite safe.
And you're presumably having your luggage transferred between accommodation?
Yeah, I have. It gives me a little more advantage when walking solo, so I think it's great.
And what are you looking forward to experiencing and seeing in this landscape?
Having meeting people, having conversations with people like we have now today. So that's one of the best things of walking a trail.
Now, you've done a few other trails, you were saying, which are quite interesting. In particular, obviously, the West Highland Way. But I'm interested in the Brittany coast.
Well, I did that in 2 sessions, one of 7 weeks and one of 6 weeks. 2,200 kilometers in total. You walk along the coast in Brittany, France. I did it with friends, and it was a lovely experience. Getting up every day. It's quite a routine after several days. Getting up each day, getting dressed, getting breakfast, and just walk the whole day for 25 or 30 kilometers.
And the French lifestyle, I mean, you're from Holland, obviously European. Did you enjoy the French lifestyle? Was it particularly different from hiking in Holland or in the UK?
Oh, it's quite different. We've got only flat surfaces in Holland, and in doing France and the UK, it's quite hilly. So I've done some routes in the Alps. I've did GR20 in Corsica.
Nice.
Only a few years ago with friends. That was a tough one.
Yeah. And that's hut to hut, isn't it, the GR20?
Yeah. You have to make a reservation these days. I've done it several years ago in 2000 and what was it, 5? Yeah, and then you could just go to the first hut and hop from one hut to the other. But today you have to make reservations. You can't just go.
Yeah. I've always aspired to do the Brittany coast. Would you say, apart from it's a coastal walk obviously, and you've got the climbs and the drops, the accommodation is easy to come by? They're welcoming to people actually doing the walk?
Yeah, they are. There are several walks, several B&Bs who are specifically for walkers and cyclists. You can do the same path, nearly the same path, on bike. So, yeah, they're very, very welcoming. We had some surprises when we turned up after making reservations, and they lost our reservation. So that was quite an experience. But my friend, she printed out the reservation, so afterwards they apologized for not having their bookkeeping in order.
Yeah. And with your experience of the various places you've walked, I'm always interested in the finances. Would you say that France was equal to UK, or is it cheaper, or how does the range of walks that you've done compare?
It's the same.
Yeah.
And this walk, the C2C, I'm doing organized with a tour operator, so that's quite a bit more expensive. And but in general, it's the same. When you go from B to B in France or in the UK, that's nearly the same.
And I know you haven't been here very long, but surely the food's better in France than it is in the UK?
No, it isn't.
Really?
No. I had a burger yesterday, and the beef tastes quite differently. So, well, it's what you're accustomed to, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, I don't care about the food. It's nice when it's nice, but if not, well, I'm here for the walking.
Yeah.
Ingrid parted company with us and took a side path to loop back and join her walking group, who were starting officially the following day. So we continued on our way into the village of Cleator, where we were quite surprised to not find a single small shop, cafe, or maybe even a petrol station, as a cold drink or an ice cream would have been a most welcome treat. Leaving the village, we found the intended steep climb up the hill to Dent was diverted along the road, and here we walked a while with Don Kirkwood from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Mike Gowner, also from Pennsylvania, discussing the mutual pleasures to be gained from simply walking.
Well, one of my favorite hobbies is walking, and I think there's no better way to see an area than walking through it. And this is a very special area of England. When I go on vacations with my wife, it's museums and things like that. I love the country, and there's no better way of seeing the country than on foot.
So it's your time.
It is my time.
Excellent.
She's not here, notice.
And is this the first time you've done a recognised trail in the UK?
I did the West Highland Way 2 years ago, and it was for basically the same reason. I had been to Scotland one time prior to that, but again, it was museums and big cities.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to getting out in the country.
And how did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it very well.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was considering doing the Great Glen Way after that, but I have done that by road already, and so I imagine the trail is very close to the road going through there.
So you're doing it with your friend here. How did you two get together to organise this, and whose big idea was it?
It was Don's idea. We have hiked before in the past in the States, and I've always wanted to do more outside the United States. So I've done treks down in Australia and some in Turkey. And this was an opportunity to come to the UK the first time, so I thought the coast to coast would give me an opportunity to see something totally different, and I've heard a lot of good things about the trail system here.
So what are your impressions of good old Blighty for the first time then, and what are your impressions of our food and culture?
So far, I'm really impressed by the trail and the fact that the greenery. I come from a part of the United States that doesn't have this kind of green vegetation, pasture land, and all that. So it's very unique perspective. I'm really enjoying this. And as far as the accommodations so far have been really nice. The people I've met, places we've stayed, have been first class as far as I can tell.
So what are you looking forward to then in the actual journey? Because obviously we're on day one at the moment, and I presume it's going to take, 12 to 16 days to do it. Is there anything particular that you're looking forward to?
I just like to see the difference in the 3 national parks we're going through. I've heard that you have the Lake District here, the Yorkshire Dells. It's supposed to be somewhat different, and then there's a whole different type of environment in, I guess, the North York area. So I basically want to see the variations as I cross England.
And you said you walked in different places with your partner here. Yeah.
I've done the southern Turkey along the Mediterranean, and I've also been to Australia, done the Blue Mountains there, done the national park, I guess Victoria National Park along the South Pacific. Those are the places I've been abroad, and that's about it. So I'm going to be able to add this. And I've also done northern Spain with Don. We've done parts of the Camino.
Fantastic. So what actually is the appeal of these trails and walking, no matter where you do them?
Well, I've hiked the part of the Appalachian Trail and other long trails in the United States, and those are really devoid of people outside of hiking people. Whereas these kind of trails, you see people in the towns, and you get to interact with people in one-on-one. So I enjoy that.
More than that, I'd also like to read about the history of the area, which I really, up to this time, it's one thing to read about, another thing to read and walk through it. You get a different perspective of what's happened here historically. That's what I like about these trips outside the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we always say it's just such a privilege to walk across a country because you get the sense of the culture and the people as well as the landscape and how one has affected the other.
Yeah, the U.S., the history isn't very long, and it's hard to tell what the history is of a particular place. It's not carried by the people the way it is here,
Yeah. And I presume the other thing is, well, in the US, or the impression I have is you don't, I mean, apart from the established trails you're talking about, you don't really have a lot of freedom to roam. I mean, I'm looking at the map here on the phone, and there's so many paths you could take right now. You don't have that freedom, do you?
No. The long trails are single trails. You can go off to towns or something, but basically there are very few loops that you can do or anything like that from the long trails,
It's just gone 3 o'clock, and I thought I'd just check in and give a few observations. It's been good to talk to our fellow walkers, and as we came out of Cleator, the path that goes up to Dent through the trees was closed, and an enforced detour took us down to a beautiful old double-arched bridge called Wath Bridge, where we stopped and had a well-earned rest. Just put our feet in the stream. I think it's more of a river in the stream, actually.
Yeah. Nice paddle.
Yeah.
Nice paddle.
And then we've now continued along the road, taken 2 rights, and we're now on the path, which is the alternative route, which seems to have been marked for various people, between Dent and Flat Fell. And to be honest, it's very good going underfoot, just fine gravel. And we're both really tired. It's caught up with us today and reminded us that actually perhaps a little bit of training would be a good thing, and don't leave it 5 or 6 years before we do something like this, because it is starting to tell, isn't it?
Well, we're that much older, and the last few years have just been a bit manic with COVID, closing the business, running it on our own in the last couple of years. It's just been full on, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
there hasn't been the opportunity to get out on long walks, just overnighters, which is not the same thing.
No, and you carry less equipment and all the rest of it. So we're talking about carrying. We did a scale up before we came away, and we're surprised to see that I'm taking about 13k, Rose is 11k. We're both a bit confused why it's so heavy. We don't think we've taken any more than we would take on our previous trips with TGO. I've got a slightly bigger shelter, I guess. I've got the Lux F6, which is very comfortable, very roomy, but it's not that 1k or 1.5k that the lightweight shelters offer. But having tried the Fjern tent at the Backpackers Club that we were going to use, we found it too cramped. Ultimately, we could have managed.
We did have the dog in it as well, mind.
So, as I say, 3 o'clock now. The path is a fairly level path between Dent on my right and Flatfell on my left. And according to the map, we should be dropping down into a steep gully to rejoin the official coast-to-coast path shortly. And then once we get down through the stream gully, it's only a couple of kilometres to, it's the red line, is it the red line we're going to? Ennerdale Bridge. Oh, Fox, yeah. At Ennerdale Bridge, where we've booked in for a camp at £14 a head, so that's 28 quid. And they obviously want us to buy a meal and probably a breakfast as well. So let's have a look what the prices are like when we get there. But yeah, it's been a warm day, lovely weather, but certainly quite a hefty reminder of what it's like to carry a reasonable amount of weight a reasonable distance.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, where we tackle the path around Ennerdale Water, the never-ending yellow brick forest track up to Black Sail Youth Hostel, and the gasp-inducing climb up Loft Beck. If you have any feedback or comments relating to this series, please leave a note wherever you see this. And if you have time, of course, to review on iTunes or Spotify or your chosen podcast directory, it would be greatly appreciated. So, until the next episode, folks, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear or see more from our extensive free library, please visit theoutdoorsStation.co.uk.